It all started in the 15th century. Turkey controlled the land route to Asia, and Portugal controlled the seas around Africa, stopping the Europeans going east to Asia to trade for spices, gold, silk, hence the Silk Road route. So they wanted to find a new route because the person to find a new route would make a fortune. I can do it. An Italian explorer named Christopher Columbus sailed the Atlantic in 1492 and hit the Caribbean, but at the time he had thought he hit India. Another Italian named John Cabot, also interested in finding a way to China. Columbus sailed for the Spanish, but Cabot sailed for the English. His plan to sail past Iceland, past Greenland, and to China. John had convinced Henry VII to sponsor him. The king gave him a letter patent allowing him to claim any land that he found that is controlled by heathens for England. So Cabot sailed out on the Matthew with his 18 crew members. North towards Iceland, then followed the Labrador Current past Greenland toward Newfoundland. Then John hit the rocky coast of the island and claimed the newfound land for England. News on the Grand Banks grabbed the attention of French, English, and Portuguese fishers by the 1500s. European fishing fleets visited these shallow waters. Lightly salted dried cod was the perfect product because it lasted a long time and it was cheap. However, fishing in those waters was hazardous. The Grand Banks was the meeting point of a hot and cold ocean current, which made a lot of fog. Yeah. It was also a path for icebergs that were on the Labrador Current. The fishers didn't care because they were making tons of money. No smart person would stay at the Grand Banks all year round because it got too cold in the winter, so they fished in the spring and came home in the fall. Fish had to be preserved with salt or drying. The French and the Portuguese had access to cheap salt from the Bay of Biscay. The English, though, dried their fish on shore. Relationships between the Europeans and First Nations people at first were good, until about 50 First Nations people were kidnapped and were sold into slavery in Libston. All the First Nations slaves had died because of the diseases that they were not used to in Europe.